What's up, guys? Welcome to the Lane Foundations podcast. I think last week we said this, you wouldn't hear our voices again, but we are recording tomorrow with someone, so you'll get 2 weeks of that. So excited to do that. Hampton Dortch, really big leadership guys, got a lot to say. I think you're going to like him a lot. Today, we got a few different topics we wanted to broach with y'all. I'll let Davis take it from here, but we are excited to continue offering and bringing to you guys just content that we hope you like. I got a lot of stuff brewing that will take place over the next year or two, and just kind of slow roll, guys, to the new year. So if you have anything that you want to talk to us about, any suggestions, comments, like we said, feel free to reach out to us. But Davis, take it away.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Walker. I'm thinking about this interview I've heard recently. I don't remember. I think it's John Christ. He's a comedian.
Oh yeah, yep.
So he had a conversation with John Deloney, the guy, I'm part of the Ramsey personalities, and basically talked about why addiction works until it doesn't.
Hmm.
So started to talk a little bit with my wife about some of that stuff last night, but to back up and talk about their conversation, there's been, I guess, some things that John Christ messed up in. He was a comedian. I think there was some
Hmm.
like sexual allegations, and he talked about his journey through rehab and all those different things. But you know, what I took from the conversation basically was talking about how addictions do work because there's a root of something on why you're doing it, but a lot of people don't figure out what the root is. So for him, it was obviously some sexual misconduct, and you know, been redeemed and forgiven. Kind of talked about his facts a little bit, pretty cool. Talking about
Cool.
letting that stuff go. But when I think about it, especially in the construction industry, you think about addictions, opioids, alcohol, pornography, the way people talk about the opposite sex, whether it's male or female, right? There's caffeine addictions. I'm, working on that one myself.
Yeah,
It could
same.
be poor diet, lack of sleep, like valuing work over family, right? There's so many different things that our industry, I don't want to say makes us turn into, but because, maybe we're not equipped to fight that, right?
Hmm.
So to get all this together, right? I've been thinking about how, for me, you know, in Fort Mill, just a hard job, going through a little bit of, just, man, do I really want to do this rest of my life type, really just
Yeah.
contemplating life, really, and it was pretty typical to have a glass of wine or two or whiskey every night. It really was. It wasn't a thing where I ever got out of hand, but it got to the point, I think my wife challenged me and she asked me about, hey, like, I was like, hey, I need you to hide a bottle of wine. She goes, why? She was like, because I'll probably end up drinking it. And she was like,
Mm.
She's like, Davis, like we had a real long conversation about that, right? And so, you know, was never like I'm going on a bender, drinking a fifth of alcohol or just whatever. But it became to the point where I was very dependent, right? Of like, I needed to help me kind of stop thinking about work.
Yeah.
So this month, I'm doing dry January, right? And Grace has known I've been a little more, I guess, on edge, or maybe not even on edge, but just anxious about things, right? Because I'm
Mm.
having to sit, right, and think about my thoughts again because I'm not having a drink or two every night. Also, my boss was like, "Hey, Davis, you're being a little more on edge recently." And I was just like, "Okay, there's two people now telling me that," and so listen to that interview, that I look inward to talk about myself because it's like, there is a line of alcoholism in my family, and it's good to have people that'll challenge me to go,
Yeah.
hey, something's off, right? So I say all that because, right, you know, I don't really know the definition of addiction, and maybe I should have looked that up before we started this conversation, but you know, I was going down that role of becoming more and more dependent on alcohol, right?
Mhm.
Wasn't addicted to it, but you know, that's that thing that Walker talked about two podcasts ago, right? Like, you know, it's all right to go have fried food, right? Or it's all right to go eat a box of donuts one night, but don't make it two, right? It's all right to have a drink or go out and hang out with friends, or it's okay to go do that with your family, but don't make it two in a row because you will look later, or you'll go down that road in life, and then you'll go look and go, hey man, like, man, I'm drinking five or six now, or I'm
How'd I
drinking,
get here? Yeah.
right. And so it's that little thing. So if you don't have people in my life, is what I'm trying to say, that will challenge you and go, hey, why is this becoming a habit? Then I just think that leads into some of the things about the industry problem. So I'll stop there because I kind of rambled, but what are your thoughts off of that, Walker?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. You and I both are fortunate enough that the Lord's blessed us with an incredible life partner, right? That we get to do life with, who knows us intimately, knows us personally, knows us very well. And my I guess addiction so far right now is like my phone, just trying to get away from that, right? Because we had a sermon a while ago that basically he said you can't be on your phone and be present at the same time, right? You can't be a father and be on your phone and be present with your children. You can't be a husband and be on your phone and be present with your wife,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And so that challenged me a lot because I just find myself, right? It's like the average American touches it, what, 2,000 times a day or something like that.
Mm.
Looks at it. I didn't think I was going to be that, but I got to the point to where that is what I'm doing, it
Mm.
seems like, right? So now I have to challenge myself to put my phone up in it, to put it in a drawer and it's not that I just scroll mindlessly, right? I go on to Facebook or I go on to Amazon or something, or like go and do. Sometimes I'm researching something, right, or trying to learn a new skill or trying to learn something. But even then, there's a time and a place for it, and it's not when you get bored, right? I
Mm.
need, like you said, I need to sit in my thoughts sometimes,
Mm.
and that's something that I don't always want to do.
Mm.
And so instead of doing that, I distract myself. And my wife's really good at saying you can't, she always reminds me you can't be on your phone and be present, right? And I appreciate her doing that because I'm like, you're right. Thank you for the reminder. And so that's on my side of things. I've discovered that, like you were saying, I did it multiple days in a row. And over the course of time, it became a habit. And now instead of trying not to create a habit, I have to try to break a habit, which is even harder
Yeah.
than trying not to create one, right?
Mm.
And so that's the predicament I found myself in. And I think throughout life, you kind of adopt different habits easily or different addictions. And this is one that I'm just trying to get out of the way. And I think especially being in construction, we'll tie it back to construction, it's very easy to do. Like you're saying, when you're alone, when you're in your hotel room, it's easy to grab that beer and do one or two drinks every night. And then fast forward 5 years later, right? You've gained 50 pounds, your liver's in poor health, and you got your blood works terrible, and your overall health's not great
Right.
because you've been drinking so much.
Right.
Or same thing with social media, or maybe it's just listening to trash radio or shows or movies or something
Mm.
like that slowly start to change the way you think about things. And you can apply it to anything: pornography, cell phone use, alcoholism, drugs, whatever, right?
Mm.
And if you do it enough and you do it often and you do not make it a habit not to do it, you have to be intentional not to do something. My wife always said, like, if I would say I didn't mean to, she goes, it's not that you didn't mean to, it's that you didn't mean not to.
Mm.
And so the same applies with any habit that you create. You have to mean not to do something. It's not that, oops, my bad, didn't mean to do that, right?
Mm.
You have to pay attention to not get to that point.
Mm. Mm. I think that's good. I need to great or Caroline needs to talk to me and Grace more often because that's two good things that she's mentioned that were really, I don't know, made me think about that. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that. Going back to a little bit what I was talking about is like, another thing is you don't ever mean to drink once or twice a night, or you don't
Right.
ever mean to mindlessly scroll on your phone every single night. But then that's the point. Like, if you're not asking yourself, why am I doing this, or even notice it, or like you said, have a awesome life partner that challenges you, then again, it becomes that habit. So, going specific to the industry, you know, I kind of mentioned a few things: opioids, alcohol, pornography, caffeine, whatever it may be. What do you think it is in the construction industry that makes us turn to those things?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I have to think about that for a second. I know. So you and I are in management, right? We don't do a lot of labor throughout the day.
Hmm.
So right now, I've been doing some side jobs for people, and right now I'm doing a backsplash in my house. I just came from doing that, right? And it takes a while. It takes hours. It's hard work.
Hmm.
You're bending different places. Your body's sore. And I found that whenever I do jobs like that, it's just my body hurts. Sometimes it's hard to sleep, right? Because you've been working all day and it's hard to get like restful. So for guys who are in construction, who are in the trades, like that's what they're doing all day long. It's a very physically demanding job. They're always doing something. They're probably always sore. their mind's always racing with something because they've been moving. And now when you're forced to sit in your hotel room or at home and not do something, right, it's kind of hard for your body to catch up to that and be at a restful state.
Mm.
Now, I haven't been in a position to where that is my daily job for years on end,
Mm.
but I think there is research out there, and there's different people who have been successful at having a labor intensive job and also having a great mental and physical well-being at the same time. So I think to answer your question, part of that is just the nature of construction,
Mm.
but to combat that, you have to find a way that helps you unwind at night that is not detrimental to your mental health, to your physical health, to your spiritual health, right? There's a lot of ways that you can go that are detrimental, like we just mentioned plenty of them, but you have to find ways that are not. So working out would be wrong. Maybe go on a run, maybe go to the gym. That's one, right? Find a sermon that you can listen to unwind. Find friends that you can talk to kind of relieve stress from your day. Have a life partner who a wife, right? Or husband, wife who you can talk to at the end of the day and unwind like we have. I don't think TV is a great way to do it either. I think it is a okay way every now and then, but not making it a all night thing. Maybe sit down for a show, right? Kind of unwind a little bit and then go do something else. Reading, that's another way to do it. I think you have to find your non-destructive way to unwind at the end of the day and be very, very, very intentional at not going at avoiding the ways that will adversely affect you that we just talked about.
Sure.
Couldn't get that word out. It took me a
You're
second.
good. You're good.
That's kind of my take on it. And I'm sure people would disagree or have other opinions on it, but that's the way that I typically think of construction, physically demanding job,
Mm.
a lot of labor, very hard to unwind. Find ways that you can do it, instead that are going to help you.
Yeah. That's awesome. To me, great perspective. I'm going to do it from a labor side and a mental side. I think it's both. What's next, right?
Mm, yep,
We're so task based that it's what's next, what's
that's
next,
true.
what's next. So
That's true.
I get in that realm of like, you know, I'm in a different management position than I was in my last job, and so it's really about helping manage our foreman and then our guys in the field for B&G. But I'm always like, how do I get ahead? What's the next thing? What do I need to be looking for?
Hmm.
I got a sub coming. Like, what are all these things? And so, if you don't take time, like Walker's talking about, some of the things I want to get into that because then I see it kind of branch out more. If you don't do the things Walker talked about, then you're always going to have the what's next attitude, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's also it. You can go back to one of our talks with Jesse, right? Like getting to the point of contentment, right?
Mm,
Of going, it's okay. I'm not thinking about what's next. Like you want to always be prepared at your position at work, right? But then that leads into your home life because it bleeds in. There's
yeah.
no really work life balance in my opinion. It bleeds into who you are. You come home and you're going, what's next? What's next? What's next? I need what? Like, I need to do something, right? So I think about that from just the management or labor side, really. You're either thinking what's next mentally or you want to do what's next physically. But then also speaking on what you were just talking about, Walker, is also the easy things, right? The things you want to do also lead to bad things, right? So the
Hmm.
alcohol, we don't have to keep going down that route, but the hard things, right? Having a good diet, eating on the outside of the grocery store, getting good sleep, reading, doing a podcast, a workout, listening to doesn't just have to be a sermon, could be just a leadership talk or just something
Yep.
you find interesting that helps you push or get or grow a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
All
Learn a new
those
skill.
right.
Yeah.
All those things take what? Dedication, commitment, practice, but it
Time.
also helps you grow exponentially, right?
Hmm.
So as we talk about these things, I want to challenge the people that listen to think about, you know, what are these things, the easy things that I come home to do, right? Is it an alcohol? Is it bad diet? Is it pornography? Is it caffeine? Is it just all these things? And then ask yourself, what are some hard things that I can just start with, right? I need to get more sleep tonight. I can guarantee you most people walking around this earth right now don't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
But just start to think of, I need to have a little bit of discipline and I need to learn. Like discipline to me is a lifestyle. Like there's things we need to automate, right? I remember going back to Jason Schroeder. like automate the things that don't require you to have discipline. But right, think about from a holistic perspective. For me, I'll back out. For me, if I don't get enough sleep, then it just ruins my next day, right? So if I don't get enough sleep, then I'm late waking up, either going to go to the gym, which is usually rare now as I'm running more, or doing my morning routine in quiet time, which makes me want to have more coffee during the week. So I'm going to have more caffeine. So then I'm going to be getting late to work. So I'm not doing it. Like it just compounds to me. So like
Yeah.
to me, I have a ticker with Grace. Like I get home and I'm like constantly internally thinking about the clock. But
Yeah.
if I'm always thinking about the clock, then I'm not present with my wife again, right? So it's this thing of, I got to take care of my body, but I also have to learn how to be present. So I don't know.
Good.
I know I just kind of rambled there, but when I think holistically about construction, we're always thinking what's next, but I would challenge people to learn how to find contentment where you're at. And that's going to be a lot long journey than just saying, I need to be content. I think there's a lot in that I think we need to have Jesse on to help us with. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
No, and I'm with you. As we wrap up, right, I encourage if you're in the industry and you go to a hotel every night or you go home and you feel like you're just going through emotion, find a new skill that you can learn, right? That's always something that's fun. It's challenging. Mentally, it's challenging. And it's something different. Like if learn coding, learn something about finance, learn maybe even like a new skill within your trade or within your job, something that will help you advance. Or you can do that, right? You can set a big goal for the year, something that you maybe thought you would never do, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take some thought into it. It's going to take some discipline to accomplish it. And now that's something that you can kind of focus on when you're back home or when you're alone or whatever. That like now you have a goal that you can work towards instead of just watching Netflix all night or doing something self-destructive that's not going to help you, right? Find something that will help you. Those are my takes. And those are relatively new thoughts that I've been working on within the past 6 months to a year, right? Of trying to better myself in multiple different areas because I did for a while just go through the motions and we've all done it, but you have to be very intentional at getting out of it. That's
Okay.
my take, right?
Yeah, I think it's good. You know, I want to encourage other people too, because, right, whether you're someone that may be addicted to alcohol or drugs, or you might just don't get enough sleep and just
Mhm.
care about work over family, whatever it is, right? Like you can change. You can overcome this, right? It's going to be a long road. It's going to be
Yep.
hard. I hope you have people in your corner. That's why Walker and I want to talk about this and really kind of we're focusing on this because I think it sets us up for the next year, right? Or throughout this next year.
Yeah.
But be thinking about the people in your life that do you have people that are encourage you to want to walk out of this, or do you have people that are keeping you in this in your life?
Mm.
So maybe next time we talk about the relationships and people around us, Walker, but just be thinking about that. Also, I mean, if you're going through something or struggling, Walker always talks about, if there's anything you have, like please reach out to us. I put the email in our show notes every week. If you need someone to just be vulnerable to, we're more than willing to listen to whatever you're going.